Hi friends, this is Farmer Lori with Garden City Harvest, and today I'm here in Lowell Elementary School's school garden to talk to you all about compost. It's the very early spring here in Missoula, and we're getting ready to plant some things in our garden in just a couple of weeks. But before we can do that, we need to make sure that the soil is filled with healthy food. And compost is just the perfect healthy food for our baby plants to eat. So we are going to talk about the different ingredients that go into making healthy compost. And we're also going to get ready to do that composting activity. So here I have some brown paper bags that are all filled with different compost ingredients. So just like some foods like chocolate chip cookies might have different ingredients like chocolate chips and sugar and flour and milk and other things, our compost has lots of different ingredients. Okay, so I'm going to reach my hand in here and show you some of those different compost ingredients. The first mystery bag ingredient is dried leaves. Dried leaves are not something that people would like to eat very much, but when they break down, they're a very healthy compost ingredient. Our second mystery bag ingredient is fruit peels. And here I've got some orange peels and some avocado peels. And while fruit peels are not something that are very good to people to eat, when we're done eating our fruit, we can take these peels and add them to our compost pile to make a very healthy plant food. Our third mystery bag has got some grass in it, or some grass clippings. And our fourth mystery bag ingredient is some coffee beans. And coffee beans, all by themselves, are not very good food for people to eat, especially after they're finished being turned into coffee. But they would make a really good ingredient for our compost. And the last mystery bag ingredient includes some eggshells. So after we're all done eating up our eggs, we can take those eggshells and toss them into our compost pile. And these are just some starter ideas for ingredients for your compost. Some other things might be some cow manure, or a banana peel, or leftover scraps from your lunch. So when you're finished, you might take those and toss them in your compost so that they can later turn into really healthy food for your plants. So I'm going to take all of these ingredients and I'm going to put them in a mixing bowl as though they were going to be mixed up in your kitchen to be a feast for a plant. All right, so these compost ingredients will eventually break down, and it really only takes about 6 weeks. But there's actually one very important ingredient that we are missing that would help really break down these compost ingredients a lot faster. Can you think of what that might be? The missing ingredient is living things. We need something like worms or little insects that could help munch and break down this compost into something brand new. Once we've got some worms to help us break down this compost, we can cover it up, put it in the sunshine with some water for 6 weeks, and it will magically turn into a beautiful bowl of compost. All right, friends, so I can use your help getting all of this good compost spread on each of our raised beds to help grow lots of good food for people to eat this spring and summer. Okay, friends, now that we've talked a little bit about what compost is, I am going to show you how we take that compost and turn it into our garden beds to be used as plant food for our baby plants. The first thing to remember is to be safe with your tools. So our tools should always be touching the soil and should not come outside of the raised beds because we don't want to bump our friends with a tool accidentally. We also want to remember to keep your walking feet on the pathways because we want to keep our raised beds lasting a really long time, and we also don't want to squish down our soil. We want it to be nice and fluffy for our baby plants. So the first job is to spread this compost all across the garden bed so that there's good food in every inch of the soil. A good idea might be to split so that half of your class is at one garden bed and half of your class is at another garden bed. And to spread your soil or to spread your compost, you can use the tools that you have at your school garden. Here at Lowell, you might use some small rakes to spread your compost. So I'll show you what that looks like. I'm just spreading that pile all across the garden bed so that it's nice and even. Or I might use a small bucket to spread my compost. And we can take that compost and sprinkle it all across the top of the soil so that there's good plant food everywhere for the plants to eat. Alrighty. Once you've got this whole pile of compost spread nice and flat and even, you can begin to turn the compost under the soil. And maybe you can think of a reason why we might want that good compost under the ground. The reason we want that good compost under the ground is because that's where the roots of the plants are. And the roots are the parts of our plants that take in water and nutrients from under the ground. So at your school, you might have a trowel and you might have a small shovel. Both of these work really well for turning your compost in under the ground. So to do that, I'm just going to stick my trowel under the ground, pull it up and turn it over. Stick it in, pull it up, turn it over. Stick it in, pull it up, turn it over. And after you've done that 5 times, you can take your trowel and pass it to a friend. And the same thing goes if you've got a small shovel, remembering to keep that small shovel touching the soil and inside the garden bed. I am going to stick it in, pull it up, and turn it over. And stick it in, pull it up, and turn it over. And stick it in, and pull it up, and turn it over. And once I've done that 5 times, I can pass my shovel to a friend who might not have one. Alrighty, friends, thank you so much for your help getting lots of healthy compost in our garden beds so that they're ready to plant. I'm gonna see you in just a couple of weeks, and together we are gonna put lots of baby plants in the ground and get this garden ready to grow lots of healthy food all spring and summer and fall. See you soon.